Brooks Library. In 1882, the Brattleboro Public Library opened on Main Street. The library was located in a room in the town hall and was open 3 days a week. There had been a privately operated and funded library in town since 1821. This was actually a reading club that was only open to those who could afford membership. The idea of a public library was a clear shift in the thinking of town leaders. Since 1842, Brattleboro readers have been privileged to borrow books, first from its early Brattleboro Library Association, and 40 years later, when the shareholders offered the books to the town from the Brattleboro Free Library. In 1886, the library received an opportunity to expand when local benefactor George Brooks funded the construction of a new library building. Brooks planned and constructed the library building, which was presented to the town, that was described as beautiful and commodious. It moved in 1887 from its quarters in the lower town hall to the George J. Brooks Library. In 1887, it was said that community support and extensive use of the library was another proof of the remarkable intelligence of our people. At its opening, the collection numbered 5,000 volumes. By 1912, it was time for an addition to the library. Brattleboro was booming. The Fort Dummer Cotton Mill and Island Park had just been built. Mrs. Henrietta Loud offered a $3,000 donation towards an addition to the Brooks Library. The town kicked in $2,500, and the trustees donated another $2,500 for the creation of an addition to the back end of the building. At the same time, Mrs. Loud donated a valuable collection of fine art to the library. Through the years, the library has been a showcase for artwork as well as an intellectual hub for the region. In the 1960s, the library was again at a crossroads. The federal government, needing more space for postal operations on Main Street, negotiated with the library for the purchase of the property at the very time the library's building had become overcrowded and relocation was necessary. The building was crunched for space, and the post office next door wanted to expand. The federal government offered to buy the library site. In a special meeting in 1965, Brattleboro town meeting members voted to issue a bond of $243,000 as the town's share of the building project. Other funds were raised from the sale of the property, interested community members, and organizations. The George J. Brooks Library building was torn down, and a new, larger building was constructed farther north on Main Street. Annabelle Pike was part of the transition. Annabelle was an assistant librarian in the 1960s and 1970s. Annabelle graduated from Brattleboro Union High School in 1958. After college, she was hired and became a face of the old and later the current Brooks Library. Where were books ordered and who paid for them? According to Annabelle, books were purchased from the bookseller, a privately owned bookstore located on Main Street. Things have changed dramatically. At the end of the day, we used to pick up all the cards that were pulled out of the back of books and arrange them by author and by the Dewey Decimal System. The newest library, the George J. Brooks Memorial Library, completed in 1967, continued the plans of its founder by providing the town with cultural and educational advantages. Gifts of all sizes have enriched the collection, and memorial contributions have continued to make possible the purchase of materials on a wider subject range and in different formats than the annual town budget could assure. Other funds were raised privately. The older building's interior was finished with fine woodwork from around the country. The craftsmanship found in the original Brooks Library was from a different age and is not duplicated in public buildings these days. The new Brooks Memorial Library opened for business September 25, 1967. On May 13, 1968, Mark Bennett of Cedar Street Extension was the 10,000th person to request a library card since the new card system had been adopted in 1954.